All right. I just wanted to ask you quickly on the Jonathan Taves news coming back to Winnipeg, the hometown kid signing a 1-year deal, just because we got a few submissions into the thought line about it, Elliotte, and how the contract all broke down. So the $2 million base salary and then the potential for up to $5 million in bonuses. And of course, we live in a world now where fans more than ever are in tune with, okay, what does this mean for my team's salary cap structure and all of it? So if you could shed some light on how that all breaks down for Taves and the Winnipeg Jets as he comes to play for his hometown team after not playing for the last 2 seasons.
Well, first of all, I think I remember looking and saying, this is why I could never be an agent. Like, I just wouldn't have thought about all this, or my head would have exploded like Scanners, David Cronenberg, if I tried to put a package together like that. I was like, wow. Like, it was one of those things where I was like, let me add it up. Let me add it up a second time. Let me add it up a third time just to make sure. Because, if I add it up wrong, like, people on social are going to be like, you moron. It's this. And so that was one of my biggest fears. Yeah. Like, am I going to add this correctly? I think, obviously Colorado was in it. Tampa Bay was in it. A bunch of other teams called. But it's pretty clear that Winnipeg was in a great position from day one. And I think it's obvious that he was very interested in doing it. Adam Lowry, he's hurt and you never know these timelines. So it's some added insurance that doesn't cost you anything aside from the money. Basically there's 3 kinds of people that can get bonuses in the NHL. First, entry-level players. Second, over 35 players. And third, players who've missed a significant amount of time due to injury over the last few years. And Taves obviously qualifies for that. So that's why they can do it that way. This is the way it works with bonuses. Like, the base salary counts against your salary no matter what. He technically has a $7 million cap hit. But the bonuses, if you go over the cap, anything that's bonuses, you can move to the next season. So if the Jets are in a situation where they go over the cap, you can have something called a bonus overage. So it's like a credit card. You pay now or you pay later. If they don't go over the cap next year and whatever Taves earns, they can keep it on next year's cap and it's done. But if he starts earning all those bonuses and they go over the cap, whatever doesn't fit under next year's ceiling gets moved to 2026-27. That's how it works. That's with bonuses, you are allowed to slide them a year if you need to. And some people were saying, oh, the Jets gave up too much. Oh, no. If the Jets pay that guy $7 million next year, they'll have won the Stanley Cup. They will pay him $777 million if they win the Stanley Cup. Now, one thing about these bonuses, Kyle, there's a couple other players who you look at and say, you know what? Makes a lot of sense that this could be the kind of blueprint that we see for them. One is Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn is 35 years old. He can sign to an over 35 deal. You could see Dallas looking at this kind of structure potentially for him. And the other is Claude Giroux in Ottawa. Same thing.
Right.
And I do think that Giroux and the Senators have been battling about the bonus structure, but Pat Brisson, who did this deal for Taves, also represents Giroux. So if it ended up being something like this, I don't think anybody would be surprised. Now, I believe that part of their pitch to Ehlers was, hey, Taves is here and he could play with you. I don't know if that's going to work. I understand why everybody is skeptical. Taves hasn't played in a long time. I just think if you're committed, like, one thing that Gabriel Landeskog proved to me this year is, like, first of all, there were people who thought he was never going to play again. And then, even when he came back, they were like, can he skate 2 days in a row? There were people shocked he could play back-to-back games that first weekend in the AHL. They didn't think it was possible. And then he played in the NHL and he looked pretty good. Like after Gabriel Landeskog this year, I think if you're serious and you're committed, I think it's possible. We'll see. It's different. You know, Taves had a different issue completely than Landeskog did. So you never know. Like, this is not something I think a lot of us really know about. So we're all going to learn together what the challenges are or aren't. But after watching Landeskog and the doubt I heard behind the scenes that he could be a factor, I have an open mind about this. Because if you're a committed athlete and you're an NHL player with all of the advantages you get as a pro athlete in terms of training and the facilities available to you, I think you're crazy if you write this off after what I saw of Landeskog.
Yeah, and I, like you, am a big believer, and if you can call your own shot on the way out, do all you can to do it. And Steve seems to be giving himself a terrific opportunity to do just that. So really great to see. How about this year's draft, Elliotte? I know you and I aren't certainly the experts when it comes to who is going to be picking who, particularly at the top. So what are you hearing? As we are, we'll be 5 days out from round one in Los Angeles on Friday night. What's kind of the chatter about what the teams at the top end of the draft are thinking about how those first few picks could go?
Well, so when it comes to our place, I always defer to our top guys, right? Like I always go to Sam Cosentino, and then I go to Jason Bukala, right? Like those are the guys I always look at and say, okay, how are they feeling? I'm looking at Sam's most recent. He said he's got a 12 and then a drop off. If you read Jason's most recent article, he's got 6. Okay. They've both got Schaefer 1. And then it's interesting because Sam had Misa 2. Jason has Misa 3. Jason has Desnoyers 2. And Sam has Desnoyers 3. And now I've heard this rumor this week, and it's been written about. I'm not the only one who's heard it, that teams are beginning to wonder, could Frondell actually go second overall to San Jose? And he's a really good player. I don't think people would be shocked if it happened, but it's not something that's been predicted. And I think a bunch of people are trying to wrap around is this the everybody lies, or is San Jose really going to do this? And so like I'll say this. I know Sam believes that the playoffs and the way the playoffs are played reminded everybody of Brady Martin, and his draft stock could really rise because of it. Sam also is a big believer in Braden Coots, who he has ranked 14th, because he says he's kind of like Bennett-like, right? And he thinks that teams are going to look at a guy like Bennett and like Coots for that. Anyway, I just think this is going to be a totally wild draft. I was really interested in that report the other day that Philly's thinking about Higgins at number 6, because Philly, like for Philly, like they kept the Cutter Gauthier thing secret until he got traded, right? Philly's thinking about Higgins. That one smelled a little bit to me. Like, it's wild. Like Desnoyers, I've heard he's rising. Brady Martin, I've heard he's rising. Roger McQueen, he was hurt a lot last year. I think there's